Here we go on Facebook, through YouTube, through some sound device. It's Brad Williams with Nathan.
Social media, whatever.
Exactly. I'm still trying to figure out what's going to be the best way. And at some point, I am going to be so organized, Nathan. We're going to maybe start doing videos to these. But here,
are you sure that people actually want to see a video of us, though?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they hear our voices.
Yeah.
You know, we got a face for radio. So, I mean, I don't know if we're going to break the internet.
Tell your wife right now, the phone's probably going to be ringing. So,
yes. Lord help us. All right.
Oh, if your wife's like my wife, whatever. Back to your cubicle.
Exactly. Go away. Oh.
Well, this week it's the Cuz Buz, the Kirk Cousins buzz, and I've actually been mostly a Kirk Cousins fan since he got here. But I tell you what, statistically wise, and he sits on my bench on my fantasy football team, and I've had 3 trade requests this week. And I tell you what,
who's your starting quarterback?
Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, well, obviously.
So I don't know.
Yeah, you're probably sitting pretty good there. But honestly, Kirk is hot.
Well,
not physically. I'm talking like on the statistical side of things. He's on fire.
Yeah,
like dude is good, you know. I kind of went through this week and I was looking at it. Like, I mean, the Vikings had, first of all, recap last week. That was a very good game.
Yep.
Needed to come out. I think it was one of the best offensive performances we've had in quite some time.
Right.
Overall, it was really good. The first quarter looked like it was going to be a butt kicking, right? I mean, defense was cutting through or getting cut up like a knife through butter or whatever that analogy is. I mean, it looked terrible, right? And then all of a sudden, here we come and shut them out in the second half, put the throttle down on it, and it looked good. So I was impressed. I thought that was one of the better coached games. Second half and offensive-wise, we've played in probably a year. Right.
Yeah,
so,
no, I was, I tell you, it was, when I looked at that one on paper, and I think we talked about it, that was a scary feel to it, and here you are, you're, 0-2, and you absolutely have to get a win somehow, some way, and that was a nice effort. We fast forward to this week, and it's our old friend Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns, and that's a team that certainly, you could say the Vikings might be the best 1 and 2 team not named Kansas City right now.
Yes. So to point that out, there was some lists of people people made some lists of the best 1 and 2 teams most likely to make the playoffs, rebound, have a great year.
Yep.
Yes, Kansas City's 1, Vikings are 2, Seattle would be 3. Then you got a smattering of all these other, kind of bottom feeders there. So, I think the Vikings are set up here. We kind of knew if we could get through this first stretch of 4 games at 2-2, I think a lot of people are thinking 2-0 to start with and 2-2 on the back end. But you go 0-2 and 2-2, and I think the whole landscape of the season changes dramatically.
Yeah.
You got Cleveland coming in here, who by all means is not going to have the best wide receiver core. I mean, you look at what we've been beat on. It's been getting thrown up and down the field, right? I mean, sure, a couple of big runs, but people are throwing the ball on us. Brashad Breeland or whatever is leading the league as the worst quarterback or cornerback. He's terrible. I like our chances this week. I think it sets up well being at home. If Delvin Cook does play, look out. I think it should be a good week.
Well, and my next thought, as I was driving over here, I was thinking also about these 2 teams might have the best 1-2 running back punch going into this game, too. And then after Alexander Madison's game last week, how do you use him this week?
I was talking about that actually with the guy who was in the store yesterday, and he said, what do you do with that? I said, why not do a couple of, run them both in there.
Right.
Put Cook in the slot, they're both good wherever. Keep them on the field, utilize them, and I think Madison is maybe an underutilized tool. And I think after last week, Vikings are sitting really good, probably the best, backup running back in the league. I feel pretty good about myself. I actually started him in fantasy because he's my handcuff to Cook, so I feel pretty good about myself with him. But honestly, in the real game, I think you should put him in there, get him at least minimum of 15 snaps a game, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's just another angle they hopefully will look at, how they can, even if it takes a little pressure off the boys on the outside. So.
Right. But I mean, honestly, like Kirk Cousins, we were talking about Kirk, right?
Yeah.
Like, the guy is putting up really good numbers. I mean, he's up there in the upper echelon through the first 3 weeks with some of your best quarterbacks in the leagues.
Mm-hmm.
In the league. Like, I mean, for one example here, what's the one here? Oh, goodness sakes. I mean, he's just, well, I should have been a little more prepared for this. I thought I had a better stat here. But regardless, he's led, like everyone thinks we could do better than Kirk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he's not the best quarterback the Vikings have had, but I think he's one of the best because you look at what he's done. One of them, most games with 300 pass yards and 3 touchdowns in Vikings history.
Okay.
Kirk Cousins has 12 of those.
Okay.
In 50 starts. Mm-hmm. The next closest one, Dante Culpepper, had 9 in 80 games.
Wow.
So Kirk is throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, say what you want. Sure, maybe some of that is garbage time and catch up last year. But regardless, you watched that Seattle game last week, and he was playing with those safeties. He was looking one way and firing rockets to the backside.
Right.
And, I mean, he was calling a good protection. The offensive line did well. He put him in, called the right protection schemes and threw it to the wide open receiver almost every time.
Right.
When Justin Jefferson is running across the field on a crossing route wide open.
Right.
And Thielen's on the backside of the post, you could throw it to him too. I mean, Kirk's doing well right now. He's finding the right guy. If we're 3-0 in the way too early MVP conversation, he's got to be in there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there isn't a better quarterback. I mean, you kind of watched Patrick Mahomes last week against the Chargers. He's not looking super sharp on the field.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, Kirk is doing well, and I think we got to throw a little more love his way. Yeah. And he seems to be kind of the lightning rod for Vikings fans, right? Like, blame everything on him, but I don't think any of this is his fault.
Well, if he hears this, he might come over here and he'd be like Sleep Number over here for him.
Yeah, maybe we do a Pizza Ranch commercial together.
We could do that. Oh, definitely.
But
yeah, it's all good stuff. Well, hopefully the Vikings can get that win this week and against another formidable opponent, and it'll be interesting to see how Stefanski has. I think he'll be ready to go, and let's hope Zimmer and company are equally as ready to go.
So there's one other really good game this week if you've looked at the schedule.
Okay.
There's a game Sunday night.
I have not looked.
Brady's going back to New England.
Okay.
I'm actually pretty excited about that. Obviously, I'm a Brady homer. If you guys listening, you're not used to that. I love me some Tom Brady. But that just seems to be like, I don't know. It's either going to be a dud or one of the most epic games. I just hope it's entertaining. I mean, I hope it comes down to the last play. But I'm really excited to see what that's going to look like, Brady versus Belichick.
Well, and I've been watching, like the Herd and stuff this week here and there, bits and pieces, and a lot of national attention about what it was really like those last few years in New England and Robert Kraft and Belichick maybe not seeing things eye to eye and that whole thing that maybe Tom wanted out of there, in 2017, going forward. So, I don't know. I mean, what the dude did last year, and what they continue to do, it looks like they're picking up Richard Sherman as kind of a security thing out there. I mean, they just get players to work around him. And, like the other thing, one point that was made that I heard yesterday was, I think part of Brady's issue with Belichick was, and he probably wasn't real vocal about it publicly, was the fact that he redid his contract year in and year out and probably wanted a little more say in the final outcome and maybe didn't have it. To where if you're giving up something, you should have a little say in how we go here.
Well, and I think that's maybe why Brady is so happy in Tampa.
Right.
I mean, you look at it, Belichick in New England would have never added a Richard Sherman kind of first part of the season, maybe went out and signed a Giovanni Bernard, or all this talent. Like people probably wanted to go to New England, but they called and they said no, thank you.
Okay,
you go to Tampa Bay and Tom's like, hey, that guy's pretty good. He'll probably pay for peanuts. What's the worst that can happen?
Right.
He makes a couple of big splash plays throughout the year, and look at what it does for us. So, I mean, you got to think that Tom is pretty comfortable down there, and that whole team looks really primed. Obviously, they lost last week, but this game should be pretty fun. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to tune in. I think you're going to see some ratings for that game be pretty much through the roof because I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun, even if you're not a Brady fan or a Belichick fan, just to tune in to see kind of the chess match. Who really knew the other person better? Does Belichick know all of Brady's tendencies? Does Brady know what Belichick wants to do?
Right.
I'm looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun.
And that's in New England, right?
Correct.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So
right.
what kind of ovation is he going to get? Cheers and then booze?
Oh, he'll get cheered.
He has to get cheered.
I think he'll get cheered.
To.
And then, the other thing, too, just noteworthy that when you talk about the egos and different things, you've got a guy like Gronk playing for Tampa, and he's money out there.
Yeah.
You got Antonio Brown, who was the prima donna of the entire league just a few years ago,
right.
quietly is out there making an impact when called upon. And I don't know, it's just that's a team that looks dangerous down the stretch for sure.
It's fun. Vikings, Tampa, NFC Championship game.
And a Husqvarna for your wife.
Sure, yeah, you bet. Why not? You bet. If the Vikings win a Super Bowl, if they make it the NFC Championship game, maybe I gotta. Don't hold me on this. If they win the Super Bowl, I'm giving away a lawnmower.
Well, Christy, if you're listening at home,
she gets a free one anyways.
Sorry about our luck. We've been jinxed.
Dang it anyway.
All right. Hey, but seriously, anybody has any needs, farm, home, construction, whatever, give a shout out at 583-2931. It's midcentralequipment.com, and we're just outside of Henning on the Cuz Buz this week on Vikings Chatter.